Lifeboat Live. We have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics. Ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Welcome back, crew. Did the first official weekend here on the lifeboat season 2, and you know what, people? Season 2 is awesome, man. This is just so much better than season 1 was in so many different ways. Having a couple of days off was, I'm not gonna lie, I missed you guys. I know Mark did too, but it was great to get a lot of the stuff nailed down that I was working on. I was just telling my bobbleheaded partner, I actually finished up the front yard since the last time I talked to you guys. It's and I'm going to post some pictures. When we went and picked up the carpet, I hadn't talked to you guys since, but this roll of artificial turf was about 600 pounds. So when we went to pick it up, like a bunch of just ignoramuses, we opened the back of the Toyota 4Runner like we were going to put this 16-foot long roll of carpet in the back. And as we lifted up the tailgate to load this thing, the guys were like, what are you doing? We're like, wow, we were hoping you might just be able to put it here in the back. The guy's like, man, it's going to be 9 feet of it sticking out of the back of that thing. He's like, I don't think you have any idea how heavy this is. So they went and got a forklift, and they put it on top of the 4Runner. And 4Runners are not quite 16 feet long, so there was quite a bit of it hanging off of the back. And when we got it home, we came to the realization that we now had to get 600 pounds of rolled up artificial turf off the top of this. And I was just telling Mark, we've got some video of how we did that. We shot a little video while we were doing this stuff. It was really it was an adventure, but it was also an opportunity to really work on being a much calmer cat, like we kind of talked about last week. Because anytime you do a project like this is a lot of I don't know. There's challenges that come up in anything. You DIY, right? You do it yourself with anything, and you're going to run into to some struggles and some challenges. But we're blown away at how it looks. It looks amazing. I'm going to post some pictures because we're pretty much, for all intents and purposes, we're done. There's some cleanup and some things, but for the most part, we've got it knocked out, which is cool. And I wanted to bring you up to a little bit of speed before we jump into the show tonight. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit of what's going on in my life. I was just telling my bobbleheaded partner when I jumped into the watch business, I did this as much a labor of love as anything else. I had an opportunity to buy an awful lot of watches from a person that was selling an entire collection of hundreds and hundreds of watches because they were going out of business. And I kind of rolled the dice with it, and we did really, really well on that investment, and it's enabled us to sort of move forward. And we spent tens of thousands of dollars at a watch auction yesterday. And as I was telling Mark, we just took a paycheck. So sometimes businesses go a long time before you're able to actually take a check and make any money. So it's been very exciting stuff, and it's that if you're wondering what does this have to do with anything, what it really is about is sobriety. It was fun. I was talking to someone today about the lifeboat and about season two and things like that. But the realization that nothing that is going on in my life would be going on if I hadn't found sobriety, found for me in particular, MAT, right? The medical assisted treatment has just been an absolute godsend and the best thing that has ever happened to me. And not lost on me is the fact that my drug of choice is the one that's killing the entire planet. So the timing, I feel blessed beyond comprehension that not only is life going really really good, but that I'm not out there in the mix because the speed at which people are dropping dead is terrifying, and there are going to be some shows updating that stuff coming up because the new statistics are starting to come out, and it's just worse every single time they tell us about it. It is absolutely worse every single time they tell us about it. Um, for those of you last week that watched the show we did about truth versus lies, the one that a couple of you thought might be political. I assure you it was not a political show, but I got a couple of more emails about it, and one email just absolutely, I mean, knocked me down because it was funny, and I'm sorry because I'm going to offend at least the person that sent the email, but that's okay. It is what it is. The person apparently I responded in an email to this individual and I didn't use the correct pronouns. Right. So I'm not very good at this stuff apparently, but I understand like the whole pronoun thing. If you have certain pronouns, I have decided that I have my own adjectives. I think if it's cool that people can have their own pronouns and change up the English language when they want to, I'm going to go with my own adjectives. So from this point forward, handsome and brilliant are going to be my adjectives. And since that is how I identify, if by some chance I'm not using the correct pronouns, when you let me know that, please let me know by referring to me as brilliant and handsome. All right, people. So tonight's show, as you see the title, is about family, and this is a bit self-serving. The reason that I wanted to do the family show tonight is there's a lot of reasons for that. One is my business partner, who is a relative of mine as well, turned 26 today. And so it's sort of been a focus of the day. I also have almost my entire family is coming in this weekend. So there's going to be, a horde. My sister, all of her kids, their significant others is going to be, I don't know, it's got to be 13 or 14 people, I think, altogether. There's a lot of them. And I was trying to make sure that I got all of these things, all of the carpet and everything laid down for the artificial lawn prior to this. So really happy that I was able to pull that off. Hold on one second. Ladybug says, I have adjectives too. Amazing, wonderful, and incredible. I love it. Love it. Love that you have adjectives. I really do. I think that that's perfect. And Space Jesus says, I'm digging that shirt, Captain. Funny story about that shirt real quickly. As I was just telling Mark, when you do YouTube, right, or you do anything where you're filming all the time, you can only see me from the waist up, right? So it doesn't really matter what I put on from the waist down. So when I got out of the shower, I threw on a pair of shorts that they're like a madras, so they're like like a type of plaid, and they're very very loud, sort of, but there's literally not a pair of shorts on the planet that could be worse combo with this shirt than the ones that I'm wearing. And it didn't much matter because I was only putting the shirt on so that I could be filmed with you people. And my other partner, not the bobble-headed one, but the furry one who hangs out in the basket, chewed my earbuds into hundreds of pieces. So right as I was getting ready to go live, I went, oh no, I gotta go I got to go get new earbuds to replace what Squirrel did. So I jumped in the vehicle and I flew up to the store. And when I got out, I realized that it is a Tommy Bahama shirt. Good eye, Alan. As I jumped out of the shirt, I mean, out of the car, I looked at the shirt in the mirror, the reflection of the store, and went, "Oh no, I wore that with these shorts in public." And the way everybody was staring at me, it was just absolutely awful. But yeah, so it may be a great shirt. It's not great with the shorts that I'm wearing. I should post a picture. But so I got a lot of family coming into town, and that made me start thinking about family. And it's we've talked here a lot about how um, if you didn't get the family you want, build one. Right? And will stick to that until the day I die. Family does not have to be blood. What makes somebody family really has. I mean, yes, you're born with a particular family, but you can build a family to be whatever you want. I'm staring at my bobble-headed brother. I very much consider Alan Ballantyne a brother, and there's a lot of people on this boat that have become family. In fact, the majority of this boat has become family to me, and there is no reason that you can't, build the family that you want. But that being said, if you do, it's a golden opportunity to not do what you did the first time around. Now, there are people out there that didn't win the lottery. They got family members that are maybe not the nicest people in the world, but let's be really honest. When you're addicted to drugs, you're probably not the greatest family member either. And I'm I'm using myself in this more than anybody because I lied to everybody that I loved, without exception. I lied to everybody that I loved. I stole from them. If you were a significant other, I cheated on you. I was the worst family member that you could possibly want to be. I mean, I didn't kill anybody, but aside from that, anything on the list of what not to do as a productive member of a family, I did, and I did often. And it's interesting because, like the business, for instance, that I was talking about, I to get this business off the ground, I borrowed money, quite a bit of it, and I put up all of my own, and then I borrowed money from other people, and in a couple of occasions, I borrowed from family, and the thought that there were family members who were going to hand a heroin addict that had been to prison 3 times, a very large sum of money to get a business up and running, tells you that you can rebuild the relationships. And it was really interesting because we went to a watch virtual we went to a watch auction yesterday online, and the amount of money that we spent really really quickly got to be staggering. Like, you could easily buy a very nice car, and the auction was not quite half over, and um, I was getting ready to look at a line of credit that we had established, and a family member said, "You know what? Your credit's great with me. If you need a little bit more money, you paid back everything the last time with interest, and actually tried to pay back with interest, and my family tried to refuse that. But the point being, this time around, right? Like, we talk about Lifeboat 2.0. Well, Tommy, in and of itself, I am 2.0, right? The Brett run didn't go so well, and I really was a pretty reprehensible human being. And I've had a chance over the last couple of days to really spend a lot of time talking to family, including my brother. Um, Tommy Bird says, I spent a huge part of my life as an extremely disappointing family member myself. Here's the thing, Tommy, everybody here has, right? I mean, for the most part, if you did drugs, you kind of had to be that person. It's not it's not conducive to being a great member of a family if you're doing dope all the time. But since the last time I saw you, I have spent a lot of time talking to my brother and to a lot of other people in the family concerning where I'm at right now. And what it really comes down to is that I think the healing begins when you own it. Like Tommy right now saying, I was a pretty disappointing, member of a family for a long time. That's the start of rebuilding. If you don't take accountability, if you don't take credit for the person that you were, how is anybody ever going to believe that you've become something else? If you look back on what you did and you minimalize it and you say, I wasn't that. Yeah, I did some dope, but I really wasn't that bad or whatever. And I used to really beat on this in the early days of the lifeboat. The you really need to own it. You need to step up to the plate and you need to own who you were. Um, that really is the key to. It's like the starting gate to the rest of your life at every single level. Alan Ballantyne says the reward of sobriety is building those relationships again and watching them grow and get better. And it's interesting. Alan and I have talked about this a lot. We've spent a lot of time talking about this, and I think in both of our cases, one of the things that we value the most in life is the relationships that we have currently, and it is so much different, right, than what it was. And I think in both of our cases, taking the time to really own who we were and what we did, I think was the what gave us the ability to start rebuilding this. I had a great talk with my daughter this morning. I was out working on the lawn when she called, and her best friend lost her dad a couple of days ago, which is devastating stuff, right? She's the same age as my daughter, so late teens, and my daughter was saying, "I'm just so glad that you and I have a relationship, because can you imagine if something like that had happened before I got a chance to know who you are?" And I have to spend a lot of time with my daughter explaining who I was, right? Because she doesn't have any perspective on that at all. And I think very often it makes her question the people that raised her, because the people who raised her talked a lot of smack about me for her entire youth. And I'll be really honest, it's a lot of it was deserved, for real. A lot of it was. The trouble in that particular case is that they decided to embellish. Like, it wasn't bad enough just telling people who I was. They had to add stuff that actually I wasn't, and things that I hadn't done. Chief among it being that I did not want her as a part of my life, which was just absolute and utter, bumpkus. But it's the if you want to rebuild your family, if this is something that means something to you, and you know what, for some people it might not. It doesn't make you a bad person. I know people that feel like they would just sort of like to wash their hands of it. And if that is the case, before you do, I would ask you to consider it, right? Really consider it. One of the things that we don't talk about enough here on the lifeboat is that we'll use me as an example again, because we won't offend anybody if we use me as an example. But if you look at my previous life, if you look at the bank robberies and the thefts and the lying and the cheating and all of those things, I've said it before, who in their right mind would do something like this? Well, obviously I wasn't in my right mind. And now, after 7 years of sobriety, you would think that I'm probably starting to come into my right mind, right? I certainly am far better off in mind than I was 7 years ago. But very often you hear people who are newly sober who say things like, "Yeah, I don't even care if I talk to my family again," or don't make these critical decisions as you're just starting to learn sobriety, because even in the first 3 years that I was sober, when I look back on those first 3 years, that's not who I am now, right? So it wasn't just as simple as eliminating the drugs out of my life and I became the person that I wanted to be. That's just not what happened. It really isn't. I mean, I eliminated the drugs out of my life and I became sober, which was a really good step in the right direction. But once getting sober, I had to figure out who the hell I wanted to be, because I had spent so much of my life under the influence that, we've talked about this before on the boat. Everything was a new experience. Everything. I mean, I'm not kidding. You get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm putting gas in my car. Well, I was doing drugs before 16. I don't know how many times in my life I filled up my car sober, if it ever happened. I mean, it might have happened once or twice, while I was waiting for something to be delivered. But it really is one of those situations where don't start making huge life decisions if you're 100 days sober. Don't start doing things like writing people off or, deciding you never want to talk to someone again. And now that I'm sober, I'm going to tell them that, man, take it slow, right? Especially when it comes to family, take a little time to see what sobriety brings, because it will change you in a very big way, probably ways that you hadn't considered.
Didn't
Tommy Bird,
didn't
go ahead.
didn't Papa Scoville used to say, "Don't make a decision in the dark."
Yeah, never when it's dark out. I would have these, very often I would be calling somebody, my father, and I would be having a major meltdown crisis. And, the world's coming to an end and, all of these things. That's usually when I would call on my father. And, I would say, I'm never talking to this person again. I'm a rip. And my dad would say, don't make that decision while it's dark out. You know what I mean? Wait for the sun to come out the following day, because so often the world just looks different, in the daylight. When the sun comes out the next day, you might not be the same person. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's sort of a microcosm, isn't it, of the bigger picture. We've been in the dark for a really long time as drug addicts, and for us to make life decisions in that darkness is probably a really bad idea. And you say, well, I'm sober now. I assure you, and I'm not trying to bust anybody's chops, if you got 2 weeks of sobriety, God bless you. That is awesome, because those are the tough 2 weeks, right? Or you got 6 weeks. Those are the first, the most difficult 6 weeks are definitely going to be the first 6 weeks. But don't believe for a second that your brain is leveled out and that everything is groovy, because it's not. It's going to take a very long time, and you're going to have to build a lot of new stuff, not just pathways. I mean pathways, right? In the brain and life and every single aspect of who you are. And if you start to start making big decisions and committing to those things, you might find 2 years from now that you're going, shoot, right? That might not have been the best decision I've ever made. Tommy Bird says, now that I've decided to be as honest of a person as I can, other people's dishonesty really hits me hard and sticks out. It can be disappointing, and I realize how ridiculous I once made myself look. Tommy, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, because it's the truth. I mean, it really is. This is something that, and I'm so glad you brought this up. Great example of the people on the boat, sort of teaching the teachers, right? Because this is something I wrestled with so hard in the first couple of years. I would hold people to a standard that I sure as hell never held myself to, right? I remember a very specific incident where I talked to my mom, and I said, this person lied to me. I'm like, this was a lie, like an out and out lie. I'm done. And I remember the look of bewilderment on my mother's face. You know what I mean? She just looked at me like, huh? Like I was speaking a different language. I'm like, you don't understand. The person lied to me. And hey, M. Hunt, good to see you. And my mother said, can you imagine if I wrote people off out of my life for lying to me? Right? Like we wouldn't be having a conversation, was the point that she made. And I said, oh my God, wow. I mean, and she just said, maybe you'd like to just let the person know that you're really disappointed, and that this was dishonest. And
She just smacked you but didn't use her hands.
I mean, correct. I mean, abs or kicked me,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, gave me a really good shot without saying anything. And it's such a great point, Tommy. It really is, because there's almost a holier than thou. And I'm not saying this about you. I promise you, I'm saying it about me. But I have less patience with people. Like when I was a drug addict, you couldn't do anything to bother me, right? I mean, you really couldn't. Even if you ripped me off for $40, I would be no, I could see that. You had nothing on you. You needed some bags. Like I get that. There was not much that I couldn't justify in my drug addicted mind. Once I got sober, I started to be somebody that really didn't put up with a whole lot of anything, and almost a holier than thou, or I come across somebody who was high. Now, don't get me wrong, get away from them. You shouldn't be hanging out with people that are wasted. But I'm not sure you ought to be judging them for that either. And that most assuredly is a trap that I have fallen into. And I don't do it on the boat. But in real life, I tend to. I'll be like, I get wasted all the time. Well, maybe I ought to shoot him a phone call and say, hey, man, we do a show here, 5 nights a week. You might want to get on it. But very often I find myself being judgmental in a way that I probably shouldn't be, and this comes direct. Tomorrow will be 29 days. Do you see that, people? That is M. Hunt. You know what? Oh man, does that make me feel good? All right, my brother. So a month is around the corner. I mean, how cool is that? And I'll be honest, because you're here and you're talking about it, and man, we were pulling for you for a long time, brother. We really were. We have been pulling for you for a really long time, and we never lost faith. We don't lose faith in anybody, but there were times there that I remember a show that we didn't do because of a presidential speech, and you were sober up until that night, and I kicked the hell out of myself for I can't tell you how long because I felt like had we done that show, maybe you wouldn't have relapsed. And I mean, it really was something that I wrestled with, and my bobbleheaded partner and I talked about it, and it was just we really, I'm telling you, we went through it on that one.
Yeah.
Probably
that
more than
bothered
just
us
about
both.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably more than just about anything that's ever happened on the lifeboat. We really wrestled with that one. We were like, oh man, I wish I had done that shit. And who knows, may not have, but we're just really happy, brother. I could not be more proud. I really couldn't. 29 is huge, man. It's almost to the 1 month mark. Um, but you know something? It's a great example of exactly what we're talking about. Um, if you were just a subscriber on this show, we'd be like, you know what I mean? It's 2,500 of them, right? But that really isn't how it goes down. And I think the nature of what we do here really lends itself to building a large family. And I definitely include you in that, Mr. Hunt.
Can I let me add something here real quick.
Please.
Guys, we talk about lying. We've talked about that at length here, especially in season one. Talked about that a lot, but it's very much a big part of what we were doing when we were using. It's completely all it was. So what I'm saying is that the point at which you decide to get help, whatever that help is, I promise you that is the exact moment that's the best time to spill everything you can to your family, the people you love, because if you're ever going to get forgiveness, it's going to be right there. And then show them. Don't just keep telling them. Show them that you're trying to get better. And I ain't gonna say you ain't never gonna lie again, because it becomes almost like a reflex for those of us that did it so much. You start lying about things you didn't even, that made no difference to lie about. There was no reason to lie about it, and you'd lie. And once you recognize that about yourself and your addiction that caused it, the best time to just drop all that and just put it all out there for the people that you love is right at the beginning. So that's what I would say. But yeah.
No, I think that's that's a great point, people. Excuse me. If you're hearing a fan, it may be in my office. It's about 5,000 degrees in northern Nevada right now. So if that fan's bothering you, I apologize, but it would be very difficult at this point to get up and try to make that go away. Mark just made such a great point, people. If you're going to get to the point where you say to the people that you care about, you know what, I have a drug problem, and this is like the line in the sand. I need to quit doing drugs, and I need to quit doing drugs now. Um, don't leave any meat on the bone, for real. Don't no half measures, no three-quarter measures. There will never be a better time to sit down and say to people, let me tell you exactly. I mean, let's lay it all out on the table now, because it's a not only is it just logical as hell, but on the flip side of it, to say to somebody, I want you to forgive me for a multitude of things because I want to restart this relationship right now. They're going to. They're going to believe that you're going to get sober. They're going to give you that chance. If you go back 3 months later and go, boy, things are going good, aren't they? I got a long list of other stuff that I need to tell you about that I lied all. You know what I'm saying? It's a terrible and I'll tell you something. The reason that I really know about this is because I was that guy. I was. I did not take care of everything at once. In fact, I didn't take care of everything in the first 5 or 6 years. I still find myself where we'll be having a conversation and someone will say, oh, I remember that. That was that time, you were in a car wreck or whatever. And I'll go, oh, no, man. No, I wasn't. There wasn't a car wreck. I had you wire me money and I bought dope with it. There was no wreck. There was no nothing. I was just another one of those where I was blowing smoke. But it's the more that you can, and you don't necessarily have to recall every single sin. If you can say, I want to tell you something. Every time you sent me money, I can't think of one I was honest about. right? Like those are the kind of truths that I have these days. Um, I borrowed money from you, it was for drugs. You know, if by some chance I actually legitimately borrowed money from you that wasn't for drugs, I'll tell you about that in a month, right? 2 months from now, I'll go, oh no, that was legit. And I promise you, that's going to go over a whole lot better than, no, yeah, there was no car wreck. I faked all of that. You know, nah, that was all BS. Another thing, people that, and I'm gonna this one, Mark and I have talked about this at length. Mark and I have talked about this at length, and this is hard. You know, it's hard. You got to realize, people, that um, we come on here, we talk to one another, we care for one another. It's a very big deal. But one of the things is that there are thousands of you, for real, and a great number of you reach out to us, whether or not you even see these people's names. You know, there are you guys. If I said, all right, name the people on the lifeboat, you'd rattle off a good 50, 60 names very quickly. Okay, but there's going to be 400 views, right, to a show. Okay, so there's 350 names you probably can't come up with who very often reach out to us and send emails. They just are not people that can either make live feeds or they talk during live feeds or any of the, those things. The reason that I'm saying that is this: if what I'm about to say feels like I'm poking at you, it may not be you I'm talking to, so don't get thin skin on me. But there is an illness called Munchausen syndrome. And Munchausen syndrome is, most people are more familiar with Munchausen's by proxy because it gets a lot more ink. Munchausen's by proxy is where somebody hurts their child, right? They might be poisoning them or they might be injuring them so that they can get attention from people who go, ah, oh, you poor woman or you poor man. You know, your kids are going through this. I can't imagine what you're going through. They get addicted, literally, to people sympathizing with them, right? The sympathy becomes a drug. And we run into that running the lifeboat. There are individuals who reach out to us, and every single time they reach out, there's a massive crisis going on. And these massive crises, over a period of time, you start going, I don't know that this passes the smell test, right? I don't know that this passes. Like, what are the odds that, this person has been shot, stabbed, beaten, robbed, right? There's something every 9 days that requires a tremendous amount of sympathy. Now, in some cases, they just may be the unluckiest man or woman on the planet. And in some, there are people who are trading one addiction for another one. And the new addiction is sympathy. We all have to watch very carefully that two things don't happen. Number one, that you don't trade what you had going on for something new, right? You really do. Now, we've done shows on this. There are trade-offs that are great ones. But if your trade-off was drugs for attention, right? That's scary, because those things, like anything else, you'll build a tolerance, right? So this happened and it's really horrible and I had to go to the hospital, starts to get into these larger and larger and larger dramatic stories until, these people are, talking about cancer. And you see this stuff,
or even having
constantly.
surgeries,
Or having surgery, all kinds of stuff. And you see this online constantly. There was a great story that just came out recently where it's a really a sort of a textbook case of this person that so far has had 5 GoFundMe pages, right, to the tune of about 400 grand. And the people that were donating because, trying to raise kids while fighting cancer is a very difficult thing. Trouble is, there are no kids and there is no cancer. And when this really got researched, this person wasn't blowing this money on drugs. This person wasn't even blowing this money. Like, it wasn't a hustle as much as it was just an illness. This person goes out and needs the lies and all of this. They also claim to be a veteran. We just got to watch ourselves, and we've got to watch our new family. Doesn't mean let's run this liar off. It just means let's make sure that we're not trading one addiction for another, because it's a frightening thing. It really is.
Well, it's our responsibility to call each other out on that stuff.
It is.
And
it really is.
We don't have to do it in like a public forum. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you might, and this is a real condition, guys. It isn't something that's, that person's still struggling with something. They're doing that for a reason. Because that's what they've done. They've, like Tommy said, they've traded to an addiction, and
And
it's a
yeah,
real thing. So
it is a real thing. And the major just said, is that not self-absorbed narcissism, just seeking attention for the sake of seeking attention? Yeah,
that's probably the definition
absolutely.
of it for sure.
Absolutely, it is. But when it happens to the chronic level, they have a name for it. And when it's usually around something happening to you physically, then it becomes Munchausen's. And in the problem with these are that as people start to go, man, there's nothing wrong with this person. They're BSing or whatever. People start to injure themselves, for the sake of this, and it's just yeah,
Well,
it's
I think a low level of that we would call a drama queen.
drama queen, right? Absolutely.
Um,
Yep.
and I get that that's not to the level we're talking about here, but it is a way to help people understand the steps that happen. Um,
Correct.
and
And that's a perfect way to put it. That's your low level. That's your entry level, right? And it's hold on. Yeah, attention junkies. Tommy Bird says, yeah, there really is something to that. Now, on the bright side, I'll be really honest. I'm not seeing any of the people that I'm talking about in the audience right now, but the heroes is always nice. But it's just a matter of making sure that we're all looking out for each other. I would never, like Mark said, to call someone out would never happen on the show, ever, ever. However, if the person hears this on the show and goes, "Ooh, I wonder if they're talking about me," then we just did a great job, right? And
they probably need to address that with themselves because when it does start affecting not just necessarily me and Tommy, but when it starts taking the time away from other people in our chat and other people that
uh-huh.
read, that's when it becomes an issue for me and Tommy. But we do
Correct.
recognize it as a real thing, guys. I mean, we
It is.
that needs
And
that needs
yeah, it
support
needs
also.
treatment too. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Trish
So
Killian, I loved what she just said. This is one of the coolest ways I've ever heard this put. Trish Killian says, I was raised by a narcissist and spent many years learning how to distance myself and not being narcissistic supply. That's a really,
that's good.
really cool way to put that because there is something to be said for feeding a narcissist, right? There is definitely something to be said for that, and that's really, really a cool way to word that, Trish. That's incredible.
Yeah, just like
Hey,
people.
Lewis Clark, good to see you.
Yeah, just like people enabled us when we are doing our drugs and alcohol or whatever. It's the same thing. You can enable people to keep doing that. A
Yeah,
lot of mothers would do that for their kids, I would think.
yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. I know someone who has a child that way. I think her kids are twins. I might be wrong, but it's just, and it's never rose to a really sort of critical thing. But if one of the kids is sick, the other one will be. And I mean, I get that, especially when kids are young, because one child is getting far more attention than the other, and but as you start to get up around 19 or 20, that becomes really odd, and
Miss D
yeah, we
make
just need to
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry. Miss D makes a really great point here. She says I may have said what has may not have said what has happened to me, but I'd never go make a GoFundMe page for it. That's stealing. Most
No,
certain,
and
and it is.
yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely it is. And you know what, V, I'm definitely not talking about you. And people, make no mistake, I'm not talking about you can't productively get things out of the lifeboat if you don't come here and tell us what's going on with you.
right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It's absolutely essential. And if you've got 14 bad things that happen to you one after another, you still got to come to the lifeboat and tell us what's going on. That's what group therapy is. No, we have some individuals that let's put it this way. After a little bit of research, some of the things that they were sharing with us turned out not to be true. And that's really where the rubber kind of meets the road. If I do a little background, and not to be sleazy, I'm not trying to sneak up on people, but Mark and I, our job is to sort of shepherd the flock kind of a thing here. So when someone says, boy, this is happening, and you think, man, we got to do
Well,
something
we
more for this individual,
well we don't
right?
we don't like dig into like go on the internet and stuff like that. We just
No,
start
we're trying to reach out and
yeah,
help.
yeah, and we start paying attention to exactly what they're saying, and
Right, you
eventually
get a significant other that says, wait a sec, what happened to who? And
Yeah,
you go, ugh, like you reach out to say, how is so and so? And they go, what do you mean?
yeah.
That's the kind of
They
stuff
end up
that
busting themselves, is what
they end up
happens.
busting themselves.
And that's and we're going to believe you 100% until we don't. And
Correct.
that's and that's kind of the way it works. We don't want to, we're not judging anybody, and even when we don't believe you, it's still not a judgment. We're still wanting to help. It's not a, anyway. But yeah,
Christopher Cooper, what are you doing, man? 35 minutes late, right? Next time your pay will be docked. No, it's good to have you here, bud, no matter when you get here. But he hit with us, sorry, I'm late. That always makes me laugh. Yeah. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Can we get a 5 by 5 if you can hear Mark? Okay, there you go. So
muted.
I've just been nodding. I've just
Sorry,
been nodding. See,
I
I
was
was doing the
muted.
bobbleheaded thing.
Sorry guys,
It's
I'm
a
muted.
shame too because he was really on a good one too. So
Oh
that is
man,
that is
it's all right.
absolutely awful because that was a good one. Um, by
Yeah,
the way, by the way, seventh son. Let me see if we can back this up here. Seventh son, 9 months, 25 days today. 9 months and 25 days. Good for you, my brother. That is absolutely awesome.
and I think somebody else was saying 3.5 months. I can't remember who. If it was, might have been Christopher when he first came in. I'm trying to back up the chat and look, guys.
Okay.
I don't, if it was you,
Oh,
please type it back in there, because I know it said it a few minutes ago. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was muted. I've been trying to mute so it kind of gets rid of that. If it is on my end with the like blowing sound, I'm using a headset that I don't typically use, so it could be me. So I've been trying to mute every time Tommy's talking, and but anyway, sorry.
well, you know what it is too. I know you're catching the fan in here, and it's usually when Mark is talking. So you might blame me because when Mark is talking, I stop talking, and I have a great microphone, but my microphone focuses in on whatever it hears around. So when I stop talking, this goes to that, and you start catching it. So this one is on me. And yeah, Lewis Clark, 3.5 months tomorrow. Well done, Lewis.
Good job, man.
Well
Good
done,
job.
Lewis.
Yeah, and and I want to talk about something real quick too. Something that happened here locally yesterday, and it does, it does bleed into the whole drug conversation. I grew up with a kid, and he was basically institutionalized from the time he was like 14. He didn't know he didn't like being out of jail, um, but this guy did some really horrible stuff. Right, his initial crime was he actually tied up a 90-year-old woman with a telephone cord in her bathtub
Oh my lord.
and then sat there and waited for the cops to come. Now he didn't do nothing like past that. He didn't, do the R thing. I'm not gonna say that word
Right.
because it'll.
Right.
But he did that, so he went to jail. Then he breaks out of our county jail. Actually got away. It was crazy stuff. Jumped off a roof, broke his leg, still got away. Then he gets out, and I can't remember. He did something else, and he ended up going back in. Well, they let him out again. He's been out since December, and I'm close family. I'm close friends with, you know, the
His
family,
family.
his family, and they're really good people. I mean, such good people, and I feel so bad for all of that. But he ended up getting pulled over on his moped, and whatever the situation was, he ends up shooting a cop in the face. Um,
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it's a big deal here in our community, and
Oh my
it's the only
Lord.
reason why I'm bringing it up. And I'm not pushing one way or the other. I wasn't there. I don't know everything. All I know is when people get hurt like that, people need prayers, and that's the only reason why I'm prayers and good thoughts or whatever. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up.
Is the
Um,
police officer still with us?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Um,
That's
Critical
great.
condition, at a bigger hospital, some surgeries and stuff. I don't know if she's woken up yet or not.
It's
Um,
a she. Oh Lord.
yeah, well, the other thing is she was supposed to get married this weekend,
Oh Lord.
and
Yeah, prayers, please.
it was just yeah. I mean, what happened was and just I'll make it real short, but he gets pulled over, and um, the cop obviously the cops know who he is because of his history and everything. So they called a canine, and the way that it was put out like in into the space here. I don't want to call it like the internet, but it was actually
Right.
in the paper also. But as soon as the dog hit on his moped, I guess he grabbed his gun and just started shooting.
Good Lord, that is just
Um,
awful.
it is, and he ended up getting shot too by the cops. Um, so it's a bad deal all the way around, right? I mean, we can't justify any of that, and
No.
I'm not here to justify for one side or the other. I love everybody equally, and everybody needs prayers, whatever that is.
Yep.
And I
No
think that
question.
he's probably signed his ticket now, that he's probably not going to get back out,
I doubt he
and that
will.
sucks
When
for
you
his
once
family.
you
It
yes,
sucks
it
for his
does.
family, and but I don't want to draw light away from that by the woman, because that is just horrible. And again, I live in a smaller community of about 30,000 people, so this is really big time stuff for us.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I
That's
just
big news.
so please pray for her and anybody
Prayers,
else,
people, please. Yep,
and
that's
good
good
thoughts
stuff.
or whatever. I just wanted to
Definitely
bring that
need
up.
prayers. And let me give a shout out to Kelly Smith. Kelly, who swore she would never quit smoking, but after let me see, let me back up here. After 48 years, people, 48 years of nicotine, and you quit, you absolutely deserve a shout out. One that lasts for about year and a half. That is honestly, that is as
It's
impressive
hard.
as it could possibly be. So God bless you. That is just absolutely awesome.
I would even
Um,
argue the fact, Tommy, that nicotine's probably one or two on the list of things to have to quit.
make no mistake. And I know that I get pushback every time that we talk about this. People, but my drug of choice, right, was heroin, and it certainly gets a lot of ink for being one of the most addictive substances. But what what really makes nicotine vicious is just how fast it gets into the system, the delivery method through the lungs, so that people who tend to use nicotine as a way to relax, when they start feeling stressed out, they light a cigarette, and in a half a second, that relaxation starts. And for that reason, it is a very difficult substance. So God bless you. That is absolutely awesome. And Will said, I believe it was Will. Let me see. Will said, Tommy, I know you collect watches. I do. There's, I don't know, 700 or 800 of them laying around around right now. I collect watches. I sell watches, buy, sell them, restore them, work on them, fix them. So yes, that's definitely, it's what I do in my day job. Um, it is absolutely a passion of mine, and it makes me really happy. A question. You want to hear a great one? This is a comment of the day. Um, Christopher Cooper says, congratulations to all of you for being here. It doesn't matter if you've quit or you're thinking about it, you're here, and we love you. You know what? Let me tell you something. What a great comment that is. Because the truth of the matter, people, very often, um, there are cats who get here. Mark, you're muted again. There are cats who get here, uh, and they may spend 6 or 7 months, right? Coming to every lifeboat before they finally pull the trigger and decide to quit. And you know what? Um, that's great, for real. what it's doing is giving somebody a real base for when the time comes that they do pull the trigger and quit. We love having you here, and Christopher nailed it. If you're coming here every day, God bless you. It really is the start of of your future. And hey, don't worry about it. You're off. What, are you kidding me? Come on, we're better than that.
No, I know,
We're
guys.
better. We're better than that.
I just hate it that it is what it is. It's just when that was the issue I had tonight, guys. In case you didn't know, I couldn't get my mic to come on, and
Yes, prior to this show, he was trying to
yeah,
go live on Wages World, and
yeah.
it's been giving him fits.
So I've been trying to mute so you guys don't get that background, and maybe I just need to just turn the volume down a little bit. I don't know. I'll fix it before the next one. I'll get a different headset or whatever I need to do. But
Well, I think Alan Ballantyne sort of summed it up. He says, "Wages World, these things happen, brother. No need to be sorry. We're family." What's tonight's show?
that's right. You're right. Thanks,
Family.
Alan. I appreciate you, brother. Really, I
Joanna
appreciate all
W.
of you. So yeah.
Joanna W. says, "I spoke to my doc's rep today, and I'm getting back on Wellbutrin. That's Buperin, for those who don't know, so I can get a grip on this depression as well as quit smoking again. I quit months ago uh, because I was smoking again and thought, why bother? Now, here's the deal, and this is kind of an important one. Wellbutrin, which is Buperin, right? Buperin, uh, that is written specifically as a cessation drug for people who are trying to quit smoking. It is in the United States, it's marketed under the name Zyban. And Zyban and Wellbutrin are the exact same drug. They're just written for two separate things. So very often, people who take Wellbutrin who smoke have a much easier time quitting. For whatever reason, Buperin has been very, very effective helping people in cessation for cigarettes. And I have used Wellbutrin for years in my life as an antidepressant. For me, it was, I mean, the golden ticket. I tried a lot of different medications, SSRIs, and what have you, when I was really struggling with depression. And the one that worked best for me was Wellbutrin. It really
My
did wonders for me.
my wife Heather did well with that too.
It's
So
some people, and I know other people who go, "Oh, that was the worst thing," and I think that's kind of depression. All depression medication. It's just you got to go until you find the one that works for you.
it's not like
Um,
Cymbalta. I was on Cymbalta, and what that does is it tries to level you out. And
yes.
so I actually quit taking it for this reason, and I'll share real quick and we'll end the show or whatever. But
Okay.
um, my grandpa passed away, and I think I might have mentioned it here before, but my grandpa passed away, and I couldn't even cry, and I recognized that was just as bad as feeling bad almost, because
Right.
at that point because I was in recovery too, and we're already trying to fight getting some dopamine anyway, and now I'm taking medication. It's kind of like not really dampening the dopamine, but not allowing my brain to get happy enough to release it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's kind of what happened there to me. And I'm not advocating one way or the other. That is an awesome drug for people that need it. It's like Tommy
Yes.
said, you got to find the right one for you. But for me on that one, that's why I actually had to stop that one. And let me tell you guys, that was the physical withdrawal off of that. Not so much the mental thing, because I really didn't experience that. But what I experienced was extreme headache, puking. I mean, it really was like I was, going dry off of my drug. I mean, it didn't last like an extended period of time, but it definitely, I knew it was happening. So just keep that in mind. I would point you guys to, don't ever titrate off of those things on your own. Make
Good
sure
point.
you've got your doctor involved, please.
He's absolutely right. You don't want to come off of any of the antidepressants. If you do not, make sure that the that your doctor is involved in that. And I'll be honest, I bet you I tried 9 different antidepressants, and some of them were terrifying, the effects they had on me. And within a couple of days, I'd be like, there was no way. And I mean, I'm a heroin addict. Like I've obviously taken some pretty strong drugs in my life. In fact, I can't think of drugs that I haven't tried, very few. But I would get on these and go, good Lord, like, how does anybody take this? The answer to that question is somebody who thought the same thing about Wellbutrin took that one and went, where has this been? Right? I don't feel a thing, but I'm just not unhappy.
Yeah.
You don't give up because the first prescription didn't work for you. If you're fighting depression, keep working with your doctor until you find the one that works, because there are miracle drugs. I'm telling you, Wellbutrin for me was honestly the golden ticket. When I was really, really struggling, what was happening? Yeah, Prozac, Miss B. I was that way. Prozac was
Yeah.
like, no chance. But while I was in prison and my dad was having strokes and it didn't look like he was going to make it, I was really, really struggling. Wellbutrin saved
And
me.
the one thing I would add to all of what we just said, both of us, is the fact that don't think that a pill is going to fix it all the way. When you find a medicine that's working for you, work on your mentality after that.
No question.
Continue to do that, because there's going to come a time when you most likely are going to try to come off that med, and
Yep.
you need to have your brain, or at least your mindset, in the right way. It's kind of my point.
What an important thing to say. I'm so glad you said that, because people, there's no such thing as a magic bullet in anything having to do with your brain, right? I got on here today and I said, I've never been in a better place in my life, right? I'm trusted. I have a good business. Things are going well. And I really need to thank medical assisted treatment. I have no doubt in my mind that if I wasn't doing this, right, what I'm doing right now on the lifeboat, the fact that I'm on medical assisted treatment would not be the golden bullet that it is. The purpose of medication, when it comes to the mind, is so that you can then work on yourself, right? If you're taking an antidepressant, don't anticipate that the antidepressant is going to make life perfect. What it's going to do is enable you to get out of bed so you can start figuring out what some of the underlying issues are, and you can start to talk about things that, I mean, because in full blown depression, you can't get out of bed to talk about the things that are bothering you, right? So you want to take a medication that, like Mark just said, is going to give you the opportunity to then start working on underlying issues. Same with medical assisted treatment. If you're getting on Suboxone, that's great because it's going to take away withdrawals. It's going to keep you from getting sick. Then you can start working on a support system and a support team. And if you're really lucky, a family, right? Either one you're born with or one you choose, that you can then, have all of that
100,
there
man.
so that when things get really difficult, everything is in place.
100%.
Alrighty, people. That's going to bring us to the top of the hour. It might have gone a minute over, but no big deal. Flaming Jackson, we love you, bud. We really do. Paxil was my magic tablet, says Seventh Son. See, perfect. Everyone's got one. Lewis Clark says, I suffer with depression and anxiety and got bipolar, but I can't take the medication because I'll be addicted to it within the week. Been there and done that. But sometimes there are medications that you're just going to have to take forever. And here's what I would say. If you were taking insulin, no one would ever say to you, "Oh, kind of weak guy. You need insulin for the rest of your life? Man up, man. Just you don't need that, right? Just don't be hypoglycemic. Use a little willpower." Well, for some depressions, there are things that are like that where you're going to need to take a medication for the rest of your life, and that's not the end of the world, right? Not being able to get out of bed depressed, that's getting close to the end of the world. That's not good, right? So whatever you need to do, talk to your doctor always. Nothing we say here takes the place of anything that you would learn from a doctor. Those guys go to school for a long time. I'm not sure if you knew that. Long time, for real, long, long time. But can they fix a watch? All right, people, on that note, we're going to call it a night. We will be back tomorrow night because our weekend was yesterday. So we're going to be here through the entire weekend. Man, I love this. I really do. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
my bobbleheaded partner. And this, people, is the cutest cat in the basket in North America. Look at her. Oh, big yawn. She's a good girl. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you.